Hello, this is Dr. Stanley Lang. Welcome to this broadcast, and the topic is on healing stress to recover health, with emphasis on the GI tract as the source of stress today. Now, if you've watched any videos that I've done, you know that I talk about stress in terms of physical, emotional, and spiritual sources. They're all critically important to pay attention to if you want to be able to completely heal stress to recover health. But on the other hand, you have to kind of focus on one thing at a time to get anywhere. And so I wanted to focus a little bit on the GI tract today because of two interactions that I had with very different patients that reflect what I would describe as the changing climate of people who are taking their health seriously. And if you're watching this video, you're taking your health seriously. You wouldn't be watching it. And one of the persons was a teenager that I was speaking with, and one of the persons was a person who was in his mid-50s and had been dealing with some chronic diseases for some time. The first person had just recently started to experience the benefits of paying attention to this. And the second person didn't know anything about it at all, but was very interested in hearing about it once I explained the connection between the issues related to the GI tract and his physical illnesses. And so the point that I wanted to make briefly is that things have changed so dramatically in medicine compared to when I started to practice medicine, when I went through medical school and residency. The things that we learned then were, I would say, much more cut and dried. The diseases were more discrete, clear-cut, and we really had a pretty clear understanding of why people were ill. Things have changed dramatically, and for a lot of patients, I think that they experience when they go to the doctor isn't quite sure why they're dealing with the symptoms they're having, because a lot of times these symptoms don't fit established disease patterns, or people don't respond the way they're supposed to, the way the textbook says that they're supposed to get better. And the reason for that is because of the stress that's caused to the system through damage to the GI tract. So there's arrows pointing to three words. One is biome, the second is GMO, and the third is glyphosate. And underneath that glyphosate is gluten. So these are the issues that are affecting the health of people in ways that were not the real issue 30 years ago. So first of all, the biome is a word that refers to the community of bacteria that live in your GI tract, along with the fungi and the viruses that live there. At least that's the biome of the GI tract. The soil has its own biome, your skin has its own biome, so every place has its own community of microorganisms, and wherever there's a discrete community of microorganisms, that's the biome. And your biome is under attack and has been now for multiple decades, and if you want to be well, then you need to pay attention to it, and there is absolutely no other path forward. Now, the interesting thing was this teenager had figured this out and had already made changes and discovered that she felt a lot better already because of the changes that she'd made. What did she change? She cut out foods that had glyphosate in them by eating organic and by cutting out grains. So she cut out grains, which also meant that she cut out gluten. Now, gluten has become a major issue mainly because of this other chemical, glyphosate. Gluten sensitivity was a relatively rare phenomenon in the early 1980s. It is no longer rare. I could close my eyes and throw a dart at somebody in a waiting room and hit somebody with gluten sensitivity with a high degree of probability, and it's because of how glyphosate has affected that. And I'm not going to go into detail here. That's in and other videos. Particularly want to point you to an interview that I did with Dr. Stephanie Seneff recently, and that's a very powerful video that explains the connection between glyphosate and gluten. So just by cutting those foods out, this teenager had figured out that she felt a whole lot better. And she felt so much better that she was willing to go the rest of her life with cutting these foods out. Now, a lot of people that I see sort of in middle age, they've been eating foods that are rich in these. So what's gluten in? Well, it's in grains. So it's in bread, pasta, crackers, cereal, pretzels. People feel like they can't give these things up or else they're going to somehow die. And this teenager was quite willing to give the stuff up for the rest of her life because she felt better. Now, this patient who's in his 50s is trying to figure out, do I want to buy into this storyline or not? And the more that he heard the storyline of the connection between the GI tract, stress, his other multiple diseases, and these other issues, the more it made sense. Now, what are these other issues? GMO stands for genetically modified organisms. And those are plants that have been genetically modified so that you can dump a lot of glyphosate, which is an herbicide on the plants. But the glyphosate is getting dumped on things that aren't GMO anymore. It's being dumped on most of the wheat and most of the oats in our country. So all of this stuff is contaminated with glyphosate. And until you figure out how to get clean sources of them, I recommend eliminating them for a while. Give your gut a chance to kind of figure out what's healthy and what's not. And the way you do that is by eating what we call our modified plate diet, which is also present in other videos that you can find. So that I consider a cornerstone foundational way of healing stress to recover health. If you don't deal with the GI causes of your stress, then when you pay attention to the other causes of your stress, it has less impact. So you need to be paying attention to these issues if you want to be well. Now, whether you're a teenager or you're mid-50s or you're mid-80s, these factors play a huge role in how you feel and how your disease, whether you're going to get diseases and how your diseases are going to progress. You get to choose. My encouragement is that you choose to pay attention to these factors because they're all intimately linked. You can avoid disease, you can mitigate disease, you can make disease become a lot less expressed, and in some cases reverse it completely. So I encourage you to take action in this area, fix your biome. God bless and have a great day.